What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So people keep asking what is going on with Bayonetta 3. We really haven't heard anything, well, since the Game Awards years ago with a little cinematic trailer. Well, once again, Kamiya did tell us a bit about Bayonetta 3, and it was a bit of a strange update, but we'll go over that today. Also, we have to talk a bit about another leak. This time it's hit Microsoft a bit and what this exactly means, because it's for the original Xbox. Also, Call of Duty looks like it's coming up this year. Surprise, but we did get a little bit of some early information as to where it's going to take place, time period, and all of that as well. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit the red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're actually going to start today with Iron Man VR. It's out July 3rd, so first week of July it will be out. And it looks like we get a free demo, or demo early, I guess, just to try out. And you can actually see some of the footage here that they released, and this is actually available right now. So you can go check it out, just download it off the PlayStation Network. And there is apparently a molten lava armor that you can get for the full game after you play the demo. Now, this is, of course, VR, PlayStation VR, so it's already targeting a small pool of people who would be even playing it. But I have to say, even looking at the demo, Iron Man at least makes sense with VR, but I still have to be like, oh, okay, I gotta get the VR headset out, I gotta hook it all up and everything. It's still a chore just to check out this demo, but I am curious, and if I find some time over the weekend, I might check it out so we can talk about it a bit on the podcast Saturday night. Also, one of the most popular games right now online is Valorant, and we now know when it is officially releasing. It's been in closed beta for a little while now, I think a little over a month, and people have really enjoyed this game. It's taken over on Twitch at times, and I just see it being talked about pretty much constantly on Twitter. Well, it is coming out officially June 2nd. The servers will go offline May 28th. They'll have a period of roughly 4 or 5 days to do maintenance and then prepare for that launch. Now, of course, this also means that any of the progress you've made through that beta will be erased, so you'll have to be starting over. But the game does look interesting. I wasn't, I guess, interested enough to really make my way into the closed beta, but the fact that it will launch June 2nd, it will be free to play, so you can just download it and try it out. And while I'm not a big fan of like the straight up Overwatch hero shooters, for some reason I look at this, and maybe because it's a bit more of a tactical style shooter, I guess, as it's described, and from what I've seen in gameplay, I'm at least interested enough to check it out on PC when it launches in a few weeks. Oh, and I mentioned this on the second channel yesterday, so if you did not see it, go check it out. But it appears that Ubisoft is teasing towards something to do with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. I'm not kidding. It seems very odd, but then we get the announcement that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is going to be making its way back to theaters, which I can only assume is for the 10th anniversary that is this year. And that could also mean that Scott Pilgrim vs. World, the game, maybe is getting a release. It seemed that when Ubisoft responded to a request for them to release the game and get it back out there in the world with you can see a thinking emoji, the internet went crazy. And now we hear about this movie, the movie making its way back to theaters. Maybe they figured it out, because this fall we will have a 10th anniversary for the game, as it came out August of 2010. Could they announce this at E3? Well, what would have been their E3? They're gonna have their own streaming event. Could they announce this there as something coming this year to celebrate the 10th anniversary and have it kind of alongside, as best they can, the theatrical re-release? It's possible, but through that tease got it trending on Twitter real quick. So the popularity, the demand is there for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. Ubisoft just has to make it happen. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start with Bayonetta 3. People are hungry for information for this game because there's really been nothing about it at all. Like, seriously, the most I guess we've heard is that they are looking to do a lot more with this game versus, I guess, going from Bayonetta 1 to 2, and that has me thinking of a few ideas that we'll go over here. But let's talk a little bit about the update. VGC did have an interview with Hideki Kamiya, and well, he talked a bit about Bayonetta 3, mostly because he was asked about it, since everyone keeps asking about it, specifically on Twitter. I see it all the time. But this is what he had to say. I'm on Twitter, so I see a lot of comments every day. I'm happy that there's still anticipation for the title, but one thing I would like to address is the trend I'm seeing, which is people who are starting to ask if the game has been canceled. I want you guys to take any concerns you have like that and throw them out the window immediately, because we're still hard at work on it and it hasn't been canceled by any means. Please look forward to it. So this was the year, 2017, of game announcements that were just way too early. Metroid Prime 4, clearly way too early. Bayonetta 3, definitely too early. I don't know if they thought that it was going to come out sooner, because they also gave us the little collection of 1 and 2 pretty quickly after the announcement. It was just months. Remember, it was early 2018 when that came out, just after the Game Awards, with the announcement of both of them back to back. So we all figured, oh, Bayonetta 3 is probably like a year or two off. Well, this holiday will mark 3 years since that announcement at the Game Awards. First of all, time flies, right? It really does. But second of all, what is going on here? Because this update is that it hasn't been canceled. I really wasn't even thinking about that. I mean, I guess people on Twitter bug Kamiya quite a bit about this, and, you know, he'll block people and all of that, but maybe he just sees that come up a lot. Oh, Bayonetta 3 must be canceled because they don't talk about it anymore. But if you remember, I bring it up pretty much constantly that Nintendo still has Bayonetta 3 alongside of Metroid Prime 4 and a few other projects in their investors briefing, where they will name the different games and when they expect them to come out. Bayonetta 3 is like TBA, right? And a lot of us like to believe that 2020 is the year that Bayonetta 3 will come out. And I almost wonder, because they also talk about their new engine in this interview, I almost wonder if they were working on Bayonetta 3 and decided to use the new engine. I don't know. It would be interesting if they did, but it's also possible that Bayonetta 3, they ended up expanding the scope, and maybe there's more open world or more open environments to the game compared to what Bayonetta 1 and 2 are. Maybe they're trying some new things with it, and that's why it's taking a little longer. Also possible that Nintendo and maybe Platinum came to an agreement for an even larger budget, and maybe they liked what they saw and they wanted to expand on it. At this point, we're all just trying to come up with reasons as to why it was announced so long ago and we still haven't seen gameplay. Yeah, like, if you think about it, we've seen, okay, maybe a little more with Bayonetta 3, but like, it's basically on the same level as Metroid Prime 4 right now. Yeah. So here's hoping they have something for us soonish, but it is at least good to hear that you can throw all of those worries out the window. I do feel like when they eventually show it, for Bayonetta fans specifically, it will blow them away, and that's at least the exciting part. And who knows when that'll be. I'm thinking, hopefully, because of everything going on right now, maybe it'll be in the fall, like a September or October direct, where they show it to us. But to me, that means it's a 2021 game then, because they wouldn't just release it a month or two later. Next up, let's talk about the original Xbox and more source code that appears to have leaked out. I say more because we've recently talked about Nintendo's source code for their older systems. We've talked about the Pokemon source code that's gotten out there. And now it's time to talk about the original Xbox that has had its source code leaked. Now, I want to point out, because MVG did point this out on Twitter as well, that the original source code for the original Xbox has been online before, but it seems to have been a bit quieter, whereas now it seems to be more publicly available. It was kind of passed around, and it seems that some people used it for different parts of the homebrew section for the original Xbox at times, but now it's like just completely out there publicly, and people are starting to go through it. Now, you can see The Verge did have a write-up here, and they also did apparently get a comment from Microsoft, and they say that they're aware of these reports and are investigating. Now, this is Microsoft's original Xbox console source code, which is leaked online, alongside code for a version of Windows NT 3.5, and the Xbox source code includes the kernel for the operating system on the original Xbox and a custom version of Windows 2000. They are confirming that it is genuine, and believe it or not, it's not terribly difficult to find this online now. It's much more public than it was previously, where it seemed to be more passed around. Now it's just like posted online. And while some people who are in the modding community or homebrew or any of that are probably looking at this and saying, oh, I've seen this before, right? But it seems that Microsoft isn't terribly happy about it being more public now, as they're investigating and looking into it. Now, people are going to wonder, what will this actually do, or what does this mean? To be honest, Probably not like a ton, although there are emulators that are currently being built still for the original Xbox on PC, and I have to admit, some of them have actually made some strides recently. Yeah, so maybe they look through the documentation and the source code and see what they can figure out, because Microsoft has done a pretty good job building emulators of the original Xbox and even the Xbox 360 for the Xbox One, to the point where they have done these massive upgrades, resolution, frame rate, anti-aliasing, all this stuff on those original Xbox games playable on the current platform. So it's possible that maybe it leads to it, but I'm not going to count on it. One thing I guess is neat is that people will be able to learn more about the original Xbox as it's more publicly available. So maybe we'll find out some pretty cool facts or something about the system overall, but I don't know if I would expect the world to change for the Xbox or the original Xbox modding community, because a lot of them have probably already seen a lot of the documentation anyway. Next up, let's talk about Doom Eternal on PC with the DRM and the anti-cheat setup that they had through Denuvo. It was a whole mess. It really was. We had a whole video on this about how it got a little too familiar, we'll say, with your PC, to the point where people weren't happy to have a kernel level driver running for their anti-cheat setup with Denuvo. It just wasn't good. So it looks like Bethesda listened. Yeah, they're removing it. This was actually in a post on their subreddit, and you can see here they even had a nice little bold line, but it says, despite our best intentions, feedback from players has made it clear that we must reevaluate our approach to anti-cheat integration. With that, we'll be removing the anti-cheat technology from the game in our next PC update. As we examine any future of anti-cheat in Doom Eternal, at a minimum, we must consider giving campaign-only players the ability to play without anti-cheat software installed, as well as ensure the overall timing of any anti-cheat integration better aligns with player expectations around clear initiatives like ranked or competitive play, where demand for anti-cheat is far greater. And that was one of the biggest complaints, the biggest frustrations, is that, like, if you're not playing competitive, anti-cheat is just like if you're playing just for fun, like social matches or whatever, yeah, it'll be annoying if you run into a cheater, but it's not going to affect your overall rank. If you're playing campaign single player, why do you need the Denuvo anti-cheat? You don't. Like, you just don't. In fact, half the time, punching in fun cheat codes and stuff is like the best part for some people, right? Doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm glad that they get to a point where maybe it's just integrated in some way with anti-cheat for competitive modes online specifically. They leave the single player alone, and maybe even some of the crazy fun social matches they leave alone as well. But yeah, it was obviously a mistake, something they should not have done. And I'm glad to see that they decided to backtrack and remove it. We'll see what else they decide to do going forward and how they try to implement some sort of way to deter cheaters from basically blowing up Doom Eternal competitive matches. And in our last bit of news, let's talk a bit about Call of Duty. Obviously, there's going to be a Call of Duty this year. Call of Duty 2020 is what everyone's been calling it, as we just expect an announcement probably over the summer, June maybe, from Activision. Could even be at either of the Microsoft event. It could be at the Sony event. Who knows there? But it looks like we know at least the setting of this year's Call of Duty, which is always an important part, obviously, when the game takes place, where all of this. But we did have this tweeted out. You can see it here, an image. This is from Okami's, and you can see Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. And, Eurogamer has managed to back up this rumor here, and it does appear, at least from what we're seeing, yes, it is going to be Cold War, so 1960s setting, Call of Duty Black Ops, and it's going to be done by Treyarch. Now, Treyarch did Black Ops 4, and of course, they're the ones who put the 4 slashes instead of just using, the number 4, but sure. But Treyarch is going to be doing another Call of Duty game just 2 years after that one. Remember, there's supposed to be like a 3-year cycle, but it seemed like Activision was having a hard time with some of their developing studios, and they moved things around, and Treyarch appears to be taking the lead here too. We had heard about this, but doing Cold War, okay, I mean, it's interesting enough to see where they go with it. I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of times the Call of Duty start to kind of blend together for me. They went crazy with future stuff, so all right, yeah, I'll be curious to see Treyarch go to like Cold War setting. That could be interesting after doing Black Ops 4, just to see if they can have it feel a lot different than some of the futuristic stuff they've been doing. It does look like Warzone will start to have more and more hints in like the map and the overall game as they work towards a reveal that I think will probably happen in mid-June, I'm going to say. But hey, if you play Warzone, start looking around for some hints. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Keith saying, sure, 8K would be pretty cool, but who can actually use that yet? 8K is still a ways off for a lot of people. And that is technically correct. We're, getting to 4K. A lot of people are picking up 4K sets. They're pretty cheap now for the most part. They might not be the best quality when it comes to full HDR or even real HDR, but you can still get a 4K set for pretty cheap now, right? So most people have started to move to that, but 8K is starting to come down in price as well. I say coming down in price, it's still thousands of dollars. Yes, $3,000 to $4,000 for an 8K set, but they're working to future-proof these systems as much as they can to where they don't be like what the VCR is now for Microsoft. They'd rather this Series X have the ability of 8K and HDR, all of that, even though it might not use it that much. Maybe you want to stream in 8K, 5-6 years from now, it'll still be a relevant box to use. Who knows, maybe games will even work, but at a super low frame rate, I'm not sure. But that's what I'd rather them do anyway. Shoot for something that we may not need 5 years from now so that it still is usable and we don't have to then buy an Xbox Series XS, the slim version. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's Bayonetta 3's strange update that it's not canceled, so good to hear. What do you think's taking so long? Let me know about that one down below. Or Bethesda ripping away the Doom DRM anti-cheat de novo. It didn't seem to go over well, and they definitely felt that one. And then what about the original Xbox source code leaking out online? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for Newswave.